Thanks for coming to this session at Booktoberfest. I'm Mike Babb, and I'm here to talk about our new initiative here in Kalamazoo, the Sustainable Brewing Education Program. And although it was billed as a home brewing kind of education system or program, really we're talking about brewing in general. So what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about myself, first of all, and then tell you about the evolution of this program. I have been in the brewing industry for 40 years and have worked for a major brewer, have actually done education in brewing for some time, and kind of adopted Kalamazoo as my city when I came here 12 years ago. And just in the last year and a half was tapped because I have had quite a bit of brewing experience, because I've worked for a major brewer, because I've worked with a brewing ingredient supplier, and because I have some education background, to begin looking at providing some sort of educational opportunities for people who are interested in brewing. So the initial contact came from Kalamazoo Valley Community College and came to me and said, gosh, we are looking at starting this program. We are building a new building here in Kalamazoo, which is located at Jasper and Walnut, in which we will house the culinary school. And we'll also have on the top floor our nursing program and allied health fields that will be doing education. And although originally we were talking about doing something with vintner education, with the explosion that we have seen of craft brewing and of brewing in general in the United States and interest in beer, we think it might be more appropriate for us actually to do some work with brewing. So I said, sure, I'm willing to tackle this. And so I did, quickly developed a curriculum. And in the process of doing that, I actually had a call from the other person who will be speaking today, Steve Bertman, who from Western Michigan University said, well, we were looking at a brewing program and I didn't know if you might be interested in doing some things with this. And I said, you know, it doesn't make much sense in Kalamazoo for two different educational institutions to do something with brewing. What if we devised some way that we could partner together? So not that I was able to orchestrate that, but I was a piece of that in terms of us trying to figure out how we could develop a program that could involve a community college and a university. The other theme that we felt in the discussions with Steve and the discussions with Western Michigan University, as well as with Kalamazoo Valley Community College, was the idea of sustainability. Some issues that are really important to our state, to our community, and also to our educational institutions, to be able to train and teach and understand more about sustainability, especially as it relates to brewing. So from that, we basically began the whole program of sustainable brewing. And so what I'm going to show you today is the culmination of that planning that has happened with that. And actually, we are now executing the first phase of that in terms of starting the first students through the actual brewing program at Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and we're doing it in association with Western Michigan University. Well, the employer that I have here in Kalamazoo is Kalsec. Kalsec has provided hop products for a number of years to brewers. And I had some very understanding management, first of all, but also some management that was interested in providing back to the community, back to the state, an idea of they would provide an endowment for me to be able to spend my time to develop this program, which they've done. So in honor of that, then the entire Brewing Wing, if you will, of the new building at Walnut and Jasper is called the Kalsec Center for Sustainable Brewing Education. They've also donated generously to the equipment and some of the things that we are doing there at the program is really launched as a result of this culmination of a group of partners, and Ed will talk more about that in a little bit. So let's talk about this new Kalamazoo Valley Community College campus. It really involves a vision that Kalamazoo Valley Community College had to provide a sustainable education program from farm, locally produced goods, all the way to restaurants, if you will, all the way to a culinary program, and also would involve the brewing area. So here are the areas that you see in terms of the actual buildings that are taking place. The first one is the Food Innovation Center, which actually would be taking produce from the fields and preparing it before it goes to the culinary school, and how you actually do that in a way that's very sustainable and a way that is appropriate in order for them to utilize that produce, those goods. It also involves the Kalamazoo Center for Mental Health, which has been an upgrade of the building there, and then the new culinary building, which again houses the brewing school and also health careers. And so you see on the map here where this is located, and we are quite close to this. And if you look at the radius around this area, there are nearly a dozen craft brewers currently in operation. And so what we look at is we have become in Kalamazoo not only a major brewing city, but also a major brewing education city, all within a fairly small radius. Quite exciting to me, actually. Here's a little more architectural stylized view of what we are looking at. The building again located at Jasper and Walnut. This is now called the Bronson Healthy Living Campus, since we are so close to Bronson, and they've been also involved in terms of helping us with launching the program. The Food Sustainability Production Innovation Facility, in which we will do, as I said, the produce preparation. And then as part of this entire plan, and in complete redesign of the actual downtown area, bringing these two areas together with bike trails and the existing creek that's there, and reworking the watershed from that has been part of that. To me, it's exciting because we see, in terms of downtown Kalamazoo, continual effort in revitalizing, improving, and upgrading our entire city in order to support what we are doing here. Just prior to this meeting, Steve and Ed and I were talking about how Kalamazoo is rather unique in this. In fact, Ed was commenting how he had gone through some towns in the Midwest in which most of the downtown area was boarded up and very vacant. And what we have in Kalamazoo is interest and a lot of actual investment in building the infrastructure in a downtown community that is a smaller town and yet has everything that someone may want in terms of what is occurring in a Midwest city. This is, again, an architectural drawing of the building. You see it's 3 floors. It's not a small site. It's really quite a large site. We have on the first floor some culinary kitchens in which students will be trained as chefs. But we also have an area where we will have a cafe where the students will prepare the food that would be actually consumed, and that would be sourced from local agricultural and innovative kind of ideas with using the food source locally. On the third floor, I'll jump to the third floor, is our health center where nurse training, for example, and some of the allied health fields will be actually housed. And then on the second floor, in addition to some culinary kitchens, on this wing, we will have the brewing facility. And so in that second floor wing, we'll house actually the Kalsec Center for Sustainable Brewing Education. So what are we trying to accomplish with this? As we develop the plan for sustainability, we had a couple of things in terms of our mission and vision that we wanted to include. And one was we wanted to make sure that we instructed students in the aspects of brewing science. So this is beyond home brewing. This is really getting into some of the theory of brewing science. But we would also reinforce it with brewery technology, equipment that would be close to state-of-the-art. And so what we have is a very small-scale teaching brewery that produces only a hectoliter, 100 liters of beer, but is very comprehensive in terms of what it can do. And we actually had to search quite a bit to find a manufacturer willing to build something that small that would house all the technology that we wanted to do. Part of that was we wanted to have the equipment, the program and facilities, all of the educational aspects to really reinforce the idea of sustainable brewing. The reason we did this is brewers that I've trained in the past have come to me and said, you know, Mike, we've learned a lot about how to make beer, but you know what my biggest problem is? How do I interface with the local water department, wastewater department, and also my energy use? That is my biggest challenge. And how do I adapt and actually change perhaps my approach to brewing in order to reinforce those things? And our curriculum really is designed to make sure that we are hitting these sustainable brewing kind of practices. So why brewing education? Why would a student consider going into brewing? Well, some of the things that we're looking at is not just beer. We are not going to have students coming in and say, hey, I like beer, I want to drink beer, tell me about beer. That's not our plan. Our plan really is to get the passion of the students involving the process and the technology of brewing. And this is really something that can be exciting to students. Students who previously maybe didn't really care for science, didn't care for math, all of a sudden are saying, I see an application for this in something that I truly have got a passion for, which is the brewing process and the technology. And so we're seeing this in students that all of a sudden they're turned on to, I can apply science, whether it be chemistry, biochemistry, microbiology, and math. I was bad in math in high school, but gosh, when I figure out I've got to figure out a recipe now, I can see an application of it that means something to me. And so we're seeing that there's a lot of excitement, not just about beer, but about the brewing process and the actual technology of making beer. Well, it was advertised that this was, yep, we're going to be doing some things on home brewing, and although some of those things can apply to home brewing, our real focus is to give them the science and technology that, yes, you can be an excellent home brewer, but way beyond that, they can really get the level of education that would put them into the arena of professional brewing, where they could actually go out and get jobs with so many of the craft brewers, major brewers, suppliers, all the people that interface with brewing, even just within Michigan. There has been some analysis to say how big is the brewing industry in Michigan? And by latest count, it was about $6.4 billion in terms of its impact on the economy in Michigan. Now that's not just from the brews, the beers, the brewing, but it also is all the allied industries and the support that that involves. So there is a need for jobs in this area. And Ed will be talking later on about one of the cornerstones of this program is we've actually involved some advisory board members that are from the brewing community to give us feedback, to provide us information, to tell us what kinds of things are important in terms of providing the kinds of education they need for the students who come through this program to get jobs. So we're not talking about really a hobby or fad, although I have to say with some of the students we currently have in the program, this is where they've begun, but suddenly they're moving and saying, wow, I can use this as a career. We have students currently all the way from their mid-20s to their mid-60s, my age, that are saying, I want to learn about brewing for a career change or something that's a little bit different in terms of what I've done in my life in terms of a job and working. So why this program? Why would a student choose this program? Well, first of all, we're talking about not just learning about the science of fermentation or the science of brewing. We're also going to be focused on technology, the equipment, how you operate the equipment, how you successfully operate a brewery, how you actually go through the entire business aspects as well as the science aspects, and also looking at the sustainability piece in which you're trying to make sure that you're utilizing all of the resources efficiently. Why this program? Because we've already gone through a lot of the effort in terms of achieving accreditation. And some of the programs that are out there for brewing education do not have accreditation and are saying now, oh gosh, we better go after it and get accredited. And why is this important to a student? Because this is the way that they can afford to do it. They can get financial aid if it is accredited. Now, part of that means we have to make sure that we have a program in which we have the assessment criteria developed that meet upper education requirements. We've done that. Another aspect of this is to make sure that you have the proper permits from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. We have a number of other educational institutions in the state that are going after a program like this and have actually announced it, but they have not even taken the time to go to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission to determine what kind of permitting they may need in order to do something like this. We've already done that homework. We did it before we launched the program. We understand what you have to do. And in fact, what the requirement, and we really set the bar with this program, is that you must be able to provide a way that students can have hands-on in the teaching, learning of the technology and science of brewing, but you are not permitted when they're doing that activity until they've already completed successfully the program of study. You cannot take that beer out, distribute it, sell it, market it. And some of the people in the state who have tried to pursue this are finding out, we can't just go down to the local brew pub and have the students go down there and shadow somebody to learn this, or actually have hands-on on the equipment and sell the beer. So our approach to this was to have a very small brewery, very functional brewery, in which we can demonstrate how to produce beer on a professional level, and then the beer would be actually used as part of the work that we're doing with sensory, that we would do with beer and food pairing, connecting it with our culinary school, and also be able to provide students with an opportunity to interface with other disciplines within the educational environment where they could design labels, they could design advertising. And so the actual plan is to have a practicum in which the students make the beer, interface with somebody in a design team to look at graphic arts, and come together and be able to present to the faculty and also to the community on site in our little cafe. Here's the beer. Here is my dashboard in terms of how I've done in terms of my sustainability, my costs, and here is how the beer tastes, and here is how it pairs with some food. So that is the plan. The other piece of it is it's very affordable. There are other schools out there that are very good, not necessarily within this state, but they are quite costly. In fact, in terms of the cost to the student, you're talking about comparatively 4 or 5 times the cost. If a student is in state and going to KVCC and Western Michigan University, you can actually do this very affordably compared to going to another private school or someplace else. And so it is quite an affordable option for students. And we've actually had students relocate here specifically for this program. We have one who uprooted his family and came here from New Jersey specifically to do this program. And we have one from Texas and one from Kentucky. We're talking about doing the same thing. So we have received recognition not only within the state, but also within nationally the U.S. that, hey, we've got something here that is really quite unique. Here is an architectural view of what will be the wing for brewing. This building will be complete in January of 2016. We have 2 courses that we're starting now prior to the building opening because we had so much interest. And this is a very busy but a layout of the brewing area that includes student work areas, but also includes the brewing equipment in which students will come in and actually brew the beer in very small teams in 2 different practicums. This is a 3D isometric view of the equipment. You see a little robot here to get some idea of scale here, and over here. And you see that it has, in terms of just glancing at it, it's quite comprehensive. It is not a homebrew system. It is a system that really would be on a par with a small pilot brewery or research brewery, but it has been constructed with some very special considerations in terms of making sure that the student interfaces can be quite obvious in terms of controlling the brewery, in terms of looking at how they may adjust, how to get the exact right level, for example, with this sight glass, to look at how they're operating their brew kettle. It'll be done manually so they can see the response. We also have, as included in part of this entire thing, is quite an elaborate recovery system in which the hot water is recovered into tanks for use later on in the process. And we also will have a waste monitoring system in which they can actually look at how much waste and look at what the TOC, BOD, all of those criteria important to a waste treatment plant is in terms of what they're discharging, so that they can have a dashboard to say, this is what we accomplished with our brew. This particular facility is being built by a company that I know from Germany, Isau and Huber. It's a 1 hectoliter system, and it is a system that is really state-of-the-art. They have not built a system of this small size in this way. We actually have people who have gone through the actual verification of some of the systems through a university program in Germany who are involved in the design, and they're actually looking at this as a real showcase of what they do with their equipment. And in fact, they are so excited about what they've built is that they are, although it won't be installed until mid-January here at Jasper and Walnut, it'll be on display at Brew, which is an international, the global largest brewing equipment show in the world, and that will happen in November in Nuremberg. And it will actually have a placard on there to say that this is the sustainable brewing equipment from the teaching brewery for KVCC, and with Western Michigan University involved, actually from Kalamazoo. So quite exciting for us. So let's talk about the courses. We've seen the equipment, we've seen kind of what our mission is. Well, here are the kinds of classes that the students are going to be taking. One of the first fundamental ones is food safety, food and beverage safety. One of the issues that we are facing in terms of employment in this industry is because of a lot of the regulations in terms of food safety that are coming on board, you can no longer walk into a brewery with sandals and shorts and a long beard and not have yourself protected from a safety standpoint nor from a protection of the actual beverage. And so we're teaching that prior to them really starting the course. We also have, and I'll just go through a progression, a brewing history and introduction course in which we talk about brewing overall. There's some career planning. There's talk about sustainability. There's a lot of involvement in the historical perspective of how this has evolved over time. That course is currently underway. We have about 30 students in that program right now. Quite excited. We're doing 2 8-week blocks in this semester, and they're both completely full. In fact, we had waiting lists for both of those sessions of that class. We also have, going this semester, what is called Brew 160, which is talking about sensory attributes of beer, styles, and food pairing. And we're talking about what are the attributes of styles, and we're going to actually taste, not drink, but taste beers very analytically in terms of what it is that we are producing. That class is underway right now. We offer that class in terms of a classroom type setting, but also a laboratory type setting, and we are actually doing this with the Millennium Group here in Kalamazoo right now, going to different restaurants that they have, and they're helping us put this on. We have special tasting glasses that the students use. We had one last night, which we tasted German beer styles and talked about what are the attributes that are important in a German beer style, and trying to reinforce what flavors and what things are important if you're thinking about making that particular beer style. Then we'll be going to the Belgian beer styles and more of the American craft beer styles. All of those will be part of that. And at the end, they'll actually do a food pairing where they will have different foods that they'll pair with certain beers. And they'll actually give a presentation on what they're doing as part of that class. Next semester, we'll be doing a lot more in terms of the actual science and technology, materials, malting, and mashing. Also the recipe and the brew house process and technology in terms of the equipment. We will also have a micro course talking about microbiology and yeast, utilizing a state-of-the-art laboratory really that we have at KVCC. And we'll also be talking about the fermentation and finishing equipment and technology. In all of these cases, we will have guest speakers coming in. We'll be doing excursions to local breweries. We'll talk about design considerations. We'll have people who are involved with the design of the brewing equipment coming in to actually provide us with hands-on comparison of valves and pumps and piping and tanks and cleaning machines and all of those different things that may be necessary in terms of evaluating equipment. Then, next fall, a year from now, we will offer the Practicum. These are really the fulcrum. They're real important capstone areas in which they will actually go into the brewery. Brewing Practicum 1, they'll be assisted quite a bit with the hands-on person helping them understand how to operate the equipment. Practicum 2, just under general overview guidance by that person. And the culmination of that will be they will actually be presenting the beer with the food pairing, the dashboard, all of the things. This is really the final capstone project that they'll be involved with. A couple of other courses as they're doing that is they'll be doing brewing quality control. We'll actually have somebody coming in who will be presenting some of that, who's written a state-of-the-art book on quality control systems. And we'll actually have other people coming in talking about packaging and distribution and the three-tier system and how you try to market your beers. So it's quite a comprehensive program that we're looking at in order for a person to get what we're calling a certificate in sustainable brewing. So about 30 credit hours. It's being done as part of KVCC, and that is the basis of the certificate program. But because of this association we have with Western Michigan University, we wanted to provide students with options. If a student wants to only get the certificate, great. They can go in and get the certificate. They will have an entry-level job in a brewery. That would be our goal. That's what they want to try to achieve. But in addition, they have options that they could actually pursue an associate's degree. It includes not only the brewing certificate, but also an associate's degree that gives them more classes and more information from business to other science classes and other general education kinds of courses. They can also have a track where they go through and get a transfer degree in sustainable brewing, which includes the Kalamazoo Valley Community College Brewing Certificate. They get that. Then from there, with that transfer degree, they can go directly into a 4-year degree at Western Michigan University. Now, initially, they probably will enter the job market at the same entry point. But as they get more education, they will be able to accelerate the speed at which they get into more responsible positions within this growing brewing industry. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to really my colleague and partner and friend who is involved very heavily with the Western Michigan University piece of this. I have been doing a lot of work on this brewing certificate program and the development here, but I'd like to turn it over to Steve, who will talk about how this all interfaces with Western Michigan University to give you the full, basically the full spectrum of what a student has the flexibility to take. So Steve.
I am a professor of chemistry. I teach organic chemistry at Western. I like to drink beer. I made some when I was in college, but I don't have the experience that Mike has. He's really put together it is I think it's going to be the industry standard. This is the program that other programs are going to have to measure themselves against. And so I'm honored and privileged to be working in this partnership. It's a unique partnership, certainly for Kalamazoo, but I think it's setting the model, setting the bar for the whole country in terms of what higher education will be in the future. it's a true partnership. We've been working together, we've been meeting together frequently, and it's just it utilizes the strengths of both institutions in a very synergistic way. So I don't have a whole lot more to add in terms of the curriculum. You have the brochures that have the courses. What my specialty has been on how do we take the practical and some of the fundamental information that students have gotten in this certificate program and grow their understanding and their skill level to the bachelor's level. And so we put together, it's a true Bachelor of Science degree that involves science courses that are similar. It's a similar curriculum to what someone who would take a biology major or a chemistry major or pre-med. I mean, these are serious science courses with very strict requirements. So there's going to be a subset of students who are in the certificate who are going to be interested in the Bachelor of Science. But as Mike mentioned, it's an option for students that they didn't have before. So it opens up and expands their career opportunities. In addition, Western is a research-intensive university, and so we can bring to this not just expanded curriculum, not just advanced science courses like organic chemistry and biochemistry and quantitative analysis and microbiology and fermentation science, but we can offer these students research opportunities to further the industry in terms of new styles, new flavors, troubleshooting issues with that occur in the industry. This is a picture of my colleague Andre Venter, who is working with local hops growers, hops farms, to understand which varieties grow best under the conditions, climatic and soil conditions that are found in Michigan. And so these are research opportunities in state-of-the-art research facilities that students can, if they're interested in moving beyond the certificate into a true science career, can have at Western. So we bring that as well. Another thing that Mike mentioned is that we didn't build this in a vacuum. We didn't build this curriculum in a vacuum. Certainly he has tremendous experience teaching and brewing. But we took this idea of sustainability and extended it from the idea of water conservation and water quality and energy efficiency to the idea of sustainable community, where these brewers are part of Kalamazoo. They're part of the fabric of our community. They provide opportunities and venues for people to come together, to share experiences, to reacquaint themselves with the idea of social interaction. And we've modeled that in the way that we built the program. It's a true four-way partnership, certainly involving the two institutions of higher education. But we also have this unbelievable partnership with Kalsec, one of our community's, I think, most upstanding employers. Kalsec, if you don't know, stands for the Kalamazoo Spice Extraction Company. They're located out on West Main, and so they do a lot of extraction of spices. They work with food industry, but for a long time, for a number of years now, they've been extracting hops extract for the brewing industry, and so they've really been pushing pushing the envelope there in terms of improving shelf life and reliability of flavor. We put together an advisory board consisting of a number of local breweries that are at the small, 7 to 10 barrels a month scale to the big players, Bell's and Arcadia and Shorts. So we, from the very beginning, we said we want to make sure that this program is high quality and relevant, and that we are providing the type of education that is needed and is necessary. And so this four-way partnership together, we've met a number of times. They have made suggestions about courses that we didn't think we should offer, that they said, no, you absolutely need to offer these things. And they've been very generous with their time and have pledged to provide hands-on opportunities for our students to do internships and to shadow at the very least. So we plan this curriculum to provide not just to take advantage of the market, but to create people who can contribute to the industry, to the production of quality beer, but also understand and appreciate the importance of sustainable communities, sustainable processes, and sustainable industry. And this is one of the most exciting things that I've done in my teaching career. It really is that these guys, hands down, are the happiest people I know, because they're doing what they're passionate about, and they are making people happy. They work really hard, and it's not these guys. They're very busy, but they. In fact, I was at Bell's the day before their anniversary, and ran into two of the people in the parking lot. Ran into two people on our advisory board from other brewers from other breweries who are at Bell's to help celebrate Bell's. I mean, they are modeling collaboration. They're modeling healthy competition. They're modeling doing something that you're passionate about and helping to build communities, and it just makes my head explode. So we're really excited about this, and we've gotten a lot of student interest. We have more or less met our goal, our target for majors at Western for the first year. In addition to KVCC having waiting lists for their courses, so there's a lot of interest on the part of students. And there's a lot of interest on the part of the industry, and it just is a really exciting time and place to be doing this. Thank all of you for coming out here tonight to talk to us about this, and I think all three of us would be willing to field any questions that you have about the program.
Maybe I missed it, but do you like the Western program, then do the KVCC program, or do you have to do the KVCC program and the Western program? How does that work out?
Yeah, so there are lots of entry points into the program. The bottom line is that every graduate of that graduates with a bachelor's degree has to have the KVCC certificate. But they don't necessarily have to have it before they start at Western. So the science curriculum is it's pretty vertically integrated, right? So there are a lot of prerequisites. You have to take these before you take those, before you take these. You can take those prerequisites at KVCC, or you can take them at Western. So like Mike said, you can get the associate's degree that transfers into Western, or you can do the certificate, or what I think makes the most sense is to take the certificate at the same time. So you sort of ratchet in those brewing courses. you learn the fundamentals of yeast and fermentation and microbiology after you have basic chemistry and you have basic biology, and so that's also an option, although it's a more complicated option. But there are lots of different ways that students can work this. I should mention that we're constantly thinking about ways to improve the program. We're working on a couple of options for study abroad. So doing tours either in Europe of European breweries, or tour. My favorite idea is a tour the history of American craft brewing, starting out in San Francisco and working your way eastward. We have a colleague in comparative religion that is working on a study abroad to study the breweries, the monastic breweries, primarily in Asia, but you could imagine doing the same in Europe. And there was another thing that we're working on, but I can't remember it now. Right. Yeah. One of my favorite courses that was created for this program is called Holy Waters, which is tracing the role that brewing and distilling alcohol has played in the development of religious traditions throughout the world, and comparing different Asian cultures and traditions. So there are lots of different aspects of this. We're working with our colleagues in the business college to see if we can come up with a business track for those students who are not necessarily in science but want to be involved in the industry. We're also putting together an analytical course, Analytical Services. So a lot of Bell's has a really nice analytical lab, chemistry lab, but smaller places like Tibbs or Gonzo's, it's hard for them to get the resources. So we're hoping to help provide some assistance with that as well, and that again will give students who are interested in analytical chemistry but don't want to work in the petroleum industry another option for using those skills.